Okay. There you go. Should be good now. I just thought this might be simpler. That way people can be there and here. That's this. Jesus,
Yeah.
What is that one? Who sent it in as me?
Dayla, how do I join your call? Is it gonna be on our Facebook page?
I don't know if she put it on the Facebook page or not. It's on our office calendar, and I sent an email out last night with the
To me?
link to everybody,
Okay,
the whole office.
I never get those emails, so can you send me something so I can click on the link?
Do you want me to send it to you via text or?
Here, I can invite her from here, I think.
Oh,
Invite. Do you have your email pulled up here?
I don't. Just my KW.
Yeah, and give me just a few minutes and run into my office.
Okay.
Copy. Gmail's unavailable. Here, why don't we announce?
I did that last night. She said she had to get those emails.
How would she want us to send it to her?
So, send it to her private email. I don't know. She must have a different email set up for that. Well, I don't know who it is.
Send it to you, and then are you on your Gmail here? Or I can even send it to mine.
It's coverteam@hotmail.com.
Send it to myself.
Hey, Dayla, question.
Yes.
Since this is recording, does it cut off at wherever you want it to at the beginning so people don't have to watch all the
We
setup?
can trim it.
Cool. I just wondered how that worked. So
Forward to Cairo.
Let me look at it again.
Cairo team at Hotmail.
I think so.
Should we take notes?
Sure.
I'm gonna send it to her Gmail also, just in case. Okay. Great.
I think we should be good. Nice to see people's faces coming on. Hey, Vince, we want to see your handsome face.
Yeah. I hear you. I'm finishing up on some things, and so I didn't figure you wanted to see my head moving around a different file. So I'll get on once it starts.
I love seeing everybody's face. Jen and Lisa.
Yeah. Hope we get a good showing.
Kimberly. Who's this?
If you put your mouse over, you should be able to see.
There's Michelle.
Hope anybody find out if Paul George is going to be on here.
He is.
Good. What about Kathy?
Yes, she is.
Good.
We actually just reset her the link, so I know she's trying to get on.
Good.
What's Michael? Karen. Okay, good.
There's Tammy, Karen, yeah.
Oh, let's step away so you can take your mask off.
don't know what happened.
My office, if that's okay.
Yeah, okay. If you, I'll yell if I need something.
I'll have my phone nearby.
I gotta get off this earbud. I'm driving me crazy.
If you need it for something, just let me go get her so you don't have to get away from her.
So good to see everybody this morning. I should have had some music going. Oh, well. If Sierra was on here, we'd ask her to sing for us.
Hey, I'd like to share something that was revelation to me last evening. Are any of you having trouble with your voicemail boxes being full?
Teresa does all the time.
Well, here's something, and I'm very good about emptying mine and going in and listening, but I would still have people that say your voicemail is full. And I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand. So somebody told me that I needed, and I have Verizon.
Yeah.
Told me that I needed to dial in, like in the old days when we had to dial into our number and go into my voicemail box that way. When I did that, I had 33 messages. Now, messages that I had already heard from September, October, November, but they were like jammed. They were like in my inbox.
Huh.
And so if anybody else is having trouble with your voicemail being full, I would suggest maybe trying that. I feel like a new woman today because I got an empty mailbox for real.
That's
Is it a carrier issue, Jill, or a phone issue?
I don't know. All I know is it's fixed now.
Huh. That's good to know. Normally, I always have to go on and tell Teresa to delete her 4,000 deleted messages.
Yeah.
Fills it up.
That
That's good to know.
I couldn't figure it out. And then somebody suggested to me that I call my phone, and then I would hit, I don't know, pound or one or whatever to it. And it's true. There was like 33. It's like, well, no wonder.
Oh, that's good.
I just thought I'd share that.
No, that's a nice little tech tip for the day.
See, wealth of information. We don't even need Rachel on here and get tech tips. She's going to kill me if she's on here.
There's a bunch of people still popping on, so I'm just going to give it another minute, guys, and then we'll get started.
It's getting pretty full. Guess this is a hot topic.
Hey, Dayla, who's on the, is it just an open forum across the board?
It is. What I'll preface with the rules, the guidelines here in just a second, Kimberly. Good question. Yeah, if you want to see if Paul's coming in, because I thought he was.
In here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there he is.
Good morning, come on.
Good. Can I sit here?
You can. In fact, I'll even adjust the camera a little
My big head.
bit.
Big head.
There.
Get it on my-
Ooh, that's crazy.
No, this is fine.
George, you must have had.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. It's funny, because I talk to all of you at different times all throughout the days about what's working for you, what's not working for you. And there's lots of different ideas, strategies, tactics, and all that thing going on. And I thought, you know what, we need to talk about this. And we need to share it with everybody because, everybody has different thoughts and ideas around something. And together we're a lot better than as an individual. And that's one of the things that I think makes it great the way our education works in this company. So what I want to do today is have a mastermind.
Yeah, right. No, let's stay pissed.
Oh, somebody needs to mute.
No, truly.
Dave Truitt, mute yourself.
Oh, sorry.
And what I'd like to do is I've asked a lot of our top listing agents to make sure that they were here and our top buyers agents, because we're going to talk about both topics today. And I want to give everybody a chance to share if they've got something that's really worked, et cetera, to be able to share. So, let's all be respectful of each other's time and, give those good tactics and move on. And I've got a kind of a guide that I've put together of things I would like to make sure we talk about, but this is certainly open for everybody to, if there's a hot bleeding item that I don't have on here, please bring it up because I can't think of it all. As of this morning, Columbus Realtors has 1,193 active listings in residential real estate. Keller Williams Greater Columbus has 56 active listings in all of our MLS. We also have 73 that are in contract. Andrea did put a pen down on the map and went out 39 miles from Columbus as a radius to look and see where we were. And 39 miles from the downtown Columbus, there's 976 active listings. So obviously our inventory problem is not getting better anytime soon. And I wanted to just go through a list of questions and talk about different things that you guys are finding that is working or maybe is not working so we can share and help each other. So just to jump right in, first off, who has a great tactic that's working for them right now to get listings in this market? You want to go?
Well, I have some tactics. I don't know if they're great or not. There's two that have worked for me in a way. I don't know if it will work on a multiple scheme. Just to take a step back, or what's your face would say, circle back here. One of the things that you talked about on the inventory, if you want to do your own search, do ones that were built in below 2020, because out of all those things in the inventory, there's a lot of those that are new builds that are saying not for sale yet, not ready for sale. So that makes it even tighter when it comes to that. But speaking of new builds, one of the things I've done is all of a sudden I'm convincing people to build right now. They're paying more than what they have. They've got to wait longer than what they have, but at least they know the price when they get done with it. One of the things you can do, even if you don't have a buyer, go into these model homes as an agent, introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Paul George. I've been in the industry. I work in this area a lot. I know you have a lot of people coming in here that aren't represented by agents. I'm not looking to find an agent or find a buyer for one of your places that you've already talked to. But I know these people have houses to sell, and you may not know anybody yet or feel comfortable with referring anybody out to somebody that can actually get their house marketed. Give them my name and I can show them what I can do, how I can work the timing, how I can do that. So that's been a good source of me lately, is just walking into these new builds, just introducing yourself, give them your card, and tell them that if you have a buyer here that's unrepresented on the sale of their home, have them talk to me, because they're going to want to know how much they're going to be able to get out of their home and talk to them. I've got a couple of them that's happened that way, just because they know I work in the area. Another thing I do is write the letters. If you don't feel like going out and walking a neighborhood, you know you have a buyer in the neighborhood. Stick a letter in the mailbox. And I think the most important thing is that you make it very personal. When I say personal, give the name of your buyer and seller. Hey, I have my clients, Misty and Justin S., have been wanting to get in your neighborhood for a long time. We've tried to get a couple of houses like the so-and-sos down the street that sold for a lot more than asking. We just couldn't afford to do that. Then I go through the benefits of why it's a benefit for them to sell this way. And I scare them a little bit, saying you don't want to have 100 people with COVID going through your house. You don't have to get your house market ready like you would in a normal market, meaning that they can look past all the kids' stuff. They can look past the dogs. They can look past this and that. The other benefit to you is they can go on your time frame. If you don't want to be out until the end of school, we can wait that long. If you can make that personal to them, there's one that I've got listed right now that the house 2 houses down is a for sale by owner. And sure enough, he says, if I don't sell in a week, I'll talk to you. I'll go with you. And that's just because of one of the letters that we put out that, hey, I've got something coming. I know I'm gonna have more buyers than I do sellers, and it may not work out on this. So those are the two things that I'm using right now to find listings.
Do you have a strategy around the letter? Do you handwrite the address? Is it a typed letter, handwritten letter? What are you doing there?
For purposes of, if I have the time to do it, if I know a specific home or something like that, I'll personalize it. But most of the time it's a neighborhood and saying, hey, we love your neighborhood. We love the park back here. We love this and this and this, but I don't use their name. That way you can get out 100 of them that way. The nice thing about that is everybody talks to everybody else in a neighborhood. They'll say, well, we're not going anywhere, but you know, these people have a kid that's graduating high school. That's another great source. You can find out all the graduates of high schools right now. There's going to be a lot of empty nesters that are saying, I'm ready to get the heck out of here. So keep that in mind when you're going to these graduations and things like that. Start thinking about the people that's their last kid getting out. But typically it's a generic letter, especially for a condominium complex or a specific neighborhood, that type of thing. So.
Good. Who else wants to help us get started here on getting listings?
Dayla, I did want to say something tagging onto Paul, George, and thank you, Paul. I will say that I have I have 3 buyers now going into contract on new build. So I have set through new build meetings with Pulte, Fisher, MI, and Epcon in the last 2 weeks. And a couple of things I'm shocked by is, number one, the prices of these homes. So the first thing to realize is that your buyers, you know, I look at these realtor Facebook pages and realtors are saying, where can I get a new build under 300? It almost does not exist anymore unless you go a half hour, 45 minutes out of Columbus. You are right at $500,000 now just to get a basic, your typical family of 2 kids that wants a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Anywhere north of 70, you are looking, starting in the low 400s and easily hitting 5 by the time you get any kind of upgrades in them. So number one is new builds are not an option for a lot of people unless they can afford that. The second thing is, I've been shocked at, is the builders' contracts. And you guys might remind me if I'm wrong, but all 4 builders now put in their contracts that the buyer is responsible for any appraisal gap if these homes don't appraise, and if they can't pay it, they lose their deposit on the new build. And those deposits, I was at Pulte yesterday. The deposits due within 30 days is 8%. So you're talking $30,000 to $40,000 on these homes. And they don't care if you have a home to sell. You give them the money. Fisher wanted 3% now, I think 3% in 30 days or something. But again, you're talking a significant amount of money that they are out if they don't have the money to bridge an appraisal gap at closing. And I've asked all of the new build reps, what is the track record? Are these homes appraising? And I got hem-haw answers from all of them, meaning, well, we hope they look at the ones we just sold in January. We hope they do this. But ultimately, your buyers are signing up to cover an appraisal gap. And we don't ever think about that with new builds. But as fast as those prices are going up, which, by the way, another pricing strategy they're doing, these builders are raising prices every 2 homes they sell in a neighborhood. So if you sell 2 homes in the Gardens at Winchester, price goes up. 2 more homes, price goes up. So it's crazy. And the base prices are crazy. So that I just tell you that if you haven't set through a new build in the past month or 2 months, it's not the way it was 5 years ago. And your buyers are signing up for really expensive homes and really crazy terms that would make me nervous. And then the other thing is Ryan Homes. Ryan Homes no longer gives you a choice. If any of you have met with a Ryan Home thing, they don't give you, your buyer does not have a choice of finishes. They've already pre-selected 5 choices of color selections, and your buyer has to choose one of those. So I don't know. I don't know who it thought of that. These people are spending $500,000 on their home and can't choose their backsplash except for the 5 choices they're given. I'm sure it's a cost-cutting measure, but if your buyers are building for the pleasure of going to a design center and doing what they want, Ryan Homes is off your list because they don't do that anymore.
Kathy, I want to back up on that, Ryan Homes. I just want all of you to know that Ryan Homes right now is paying a flat commission.
Yep.
It only goes from 2,500 to 4,500. So if you write 500,000 on Ryan Homes, you're going to get a $4,500 commission. You know, everybody has the right to accept those. That's what, you know, real estate's about. But I do just want you to know that, and the majority of them are only 2,500 in most of their areas. So also keep that in mind.
The builder is a seller in a seller's market, and they're playing hardball. They just are. I went up to a community in Powell yesterday. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it. It was a Pulte community way up north, and they had only 5 lots left. 3 of the lots back to one of those huge transmission stations, not just a tower. We're talking 40 towers, and they were asking $10,000 premiums on those lots. And I looked at the salesperson and I said, what's premium about it? He kind of laughed, and I said,
Didn't have a house behind it.
right, exactly. The answer was, I mean, essentially they're doing it because they can.
Yep.
And the lots without towers have $40,000 premium. So your base price of $470 just went to $510, and you haven't put a single thing in your house yet. This is just to not have towers in your backyard. So yeah, it sounds great to send them to new build, but your 350 and below buyer can't afford it. And your 350 and up buyer needs to have a budget of 60 to 75,000 to go in without vinyl floors on, vinyl on their floors. And it's ugly. It's ugly, and you need to read the terms closely because it's not like it was 10 years ago.
I don't think it's like it was 6 months ago, Kathy.
You're right. You're
I mean,
right.
I did a couple new build Pultes, and there was no language in there about appraisal gap, because you never usually, especially if you went through their lender, they always found the value. And that's why it's getting scary now that they're making we already know that resale buyers have to make appraisal gaps, or they're not even winning an offer. Now we have to deal with new builds, which is scary.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Another thing to note, I met with Rockford yesterday, and their time to build is also way, it's as long as a custom for a production build now. So they're quoting 10 to 12 months from start to finish, which typically that's 4 to 6 on a production build. So they're just so backed up, but they keep taking orders. The development I was in Delaware, and the rep had just got that development. Not only a few weeks ago, there were 25 lots available, and now there's 11. She said it's bonkers, and they're not negotiating on anything. And from start to finish, you can expect 10 to 12 months.
So it's not even like
And mine is doing lotteries.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you find a lot, you can sit and wait for 12 months. But right now, they do lottery left and right. There's 2 community. One is with MI and one is a Pulte, and the list is that long. And the buyer probably have to wait for 60 days to even get their name up the list. So they have all the right to do all the terms that you all mentioned just because they have a long list of buyers.
And they increase prices as you go. So if you're not on, if you want to put your client on the waiting list, they have to know that there will be a price increase every month. They will not declare what that price increase will be.
Is anybody having luck helping people find lots, just vacant lots to buy, and then using a builder, whether it be a custom builder or a Schumacher or a Wayne Homes or someone like that?
I'm waiting for the lot to pop up for one of my buyer right now. There's nothing.
Here's the problem you have with that. is buyers are usually unrealistic about what it is to build on your own lot. First of all, they don't want well or septic. Well, there you go. That's virtually all the lots are gone if they don't want well or septic. So then you say, I have a buyer right now in that situation. We found one developed area where they can choose their own builder. And what I mean by that, we found one neighborhood, it's Raccoon Creek in Johnstown, where you can buy a lot, choose your own builder, and there are utilities at the street. To my knowledge, that's the only place in Central Ohio. Other than that, you are going to be putting in your own well and septic, electric, or whatever you're doing, and buyers' eyes get that big and think, oh, well, I don't want well and septic, you know. So finding the lot is not as difficult as educating the buyer as to what that means when you buy a lot. You're buying a lot and you're buying a house, and you've got to put improvements on that lot. And our friend Henry Diani told me, he said, you know, that's always, I mean, Diani's built homes on lots for 50 years. And he said, we're still guessing at it as to what that development price would be, but you need to budget about 20% of the cost of the house for things like well and septic and electric and driveway and elevation and all that, and removal of trees and all that stuff. So again, when buyers put those numbers together, and by the way, you have to buy the lot cash usually. I mean, some lenders will let you put 50% down, but a lot of these build on your lot builders are not like Pulte or MI, where they say, we'll finance it for you. They say, you go find your lot, tell us when you have it, and then we'll help you build the home. So it is generally not for the first time home buyer. It is for someone who has a good bit of equity, who doesn't mind a margin of 10% if there's overruns, and are educated as to how that process goes.
It's hard for second home buyer too, Kathy. I am helping a lady, she building a 1 million home, and any lot pop up, there's multiple offers. That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Let's go back to some strategies for getting listings, just because I know people are afraid to move right now because they have nowhere to go. Has anybody come up with any good solutions for helping people find temporary places to go, or just ways to get those listings?
I have one seller moved to an apartment and one seller moved back to her mom. I'm not sure if I did a bad job there.
Anybody else having any luck with that?
Kathy, I have a question for you. I think you had your annual home seller seminar last night. What kind of feedback were you getting from the people that came that, you know, want to sell, but they're afraid of where to go to?
Well, my registration sheet had 2 places to fill out. One said, you sold me, and one said, you scared me. And
I like that.
And so, and I would say a third of them said, you scared me. Well, first of all, it's the reality of the market. You just have to tell them you don't get one without the other. You don't get a grand slam home run win on the sale of your home in a buyer's market. So the reality is, what we did last night is we showed them real life examples of what homeowners were getting on the sale of their homes. And we explained to them the tremendous terms start not just with the price of your home, but includes the type of financing and home inspection and appraisal and possession, and that we could very possibly get them 60 days possession. And then Jill and others shared their own experience of being able to negotiate on behalf of their buyers to get extended possession on their homes and help. However, end of the day, we said, yes, you may have to move twice, and only you can decide if that is worth it to you to do that, to gain the value of today's market. Now, one thing we have done is we have really started educating sellers as options with the equity in their own home. For example, there are Fifth Third has a bridge loan that the interest on it is like 1% for 6 months, and then it kicks in. Well, it's not going to take 6 months. You get a bridge loan, buy another home, and you're going to be able to pay back that bridge loan in 60 days likely. So we've started giving them options. One of our lenders reminded us that you can pull money out of a 401k and have, and I'm not a tax person, so if I'm wrong, but he said you can pull out of a 401k, and if it's used for a house, you don't have to pay the penalty on it. And sometimes you can pay it back within 60 days. So we're getting creative in helping people, learning about ways that they can buy without selling their home and then listing their home once they're in contract, because the aversion is to the double move. The aversion is not to the difficulty of finding a home. People are pretty well convinced that if they have 6 months, they can find a home, but the aversion is to that double move. So we are trying to educate people as to the possibilities in their own home to avoid the double move. But the bottom line is we're saying, you know, get used to it. And actually, I have one of my clients who was able to get an Airbnb for 4 months. And they said that they're living in a house. It's for 4 months, and they were able to negotiate a lower rate because it's for 4 months. And they said it's less than apartment rent. So, you know, that's, it never occurred to me to try to get an Airbnb for 4 months, but this couple has done it, and they've got one kid and a dog, and they found an Airbnb, you know, that would let them live there. So I think the important thing is to educate your clients that we're in a market that's not changing soon, and that if they want to take the advantage of all of those things that come with the seller, they need to get creative in their financing, either how to buy without selling, or to, you know, just grit your teeth and do that double move. Get, you know, find someplace comfortable and wait it out until you find a house.
Anybody using bridge loans right now?
My last 2 houses that I sold, I don't sell very many of them, but they did bridge loans so that they could buy before they sold, because they're selling so fast these days that it's insane. And the Airbnb is a very good idea. My nephew, as a matter of fact, he keeps getting these co-ops through college, and he does Airbnb instead of doing apartments everywhere he goes. He was in Florida, he's in Cincinnati now. And yeah, you get much better terms on an Airbnb if you do 3 or 4 months. So.
One of my things that I'm working on today is finding a lender to do a class on bridge and blanket loans. And so that is something the education committee wants to bring to the office here very quickly.
Another financing tip that I kind of stumbled upon was, if your clients have a Charles Schwab account with their investments. I did not realize this, and I'm going to say a bad word right now, but Charles Schwab owns Quicken Loans. So what they'll allow you to do is basically freeze all of your assets, no matter what you have your assets in, they freeze those. There's no fee then for you to use those assets as collateral to do a loan with Quicken Loans. So that's just another idea for financing.
Are there any tax people? I mean, I had always thought if you pull money from a 401k, you're going to pay that 20%. And I had a lender the other night say that wasn't true, that if you're using it for a home, education, or emergency medical, you don't pay the 20% penalty.
There is a class through a local OCREA, it's OCREE, this Saturday on that very thing. It's, I think, $47 if you're a member, and it's like $67 if you're not. But they're going to have a panel of experts. It's kind of an all day long seminar. I'm actually going to take that just for my own knowledge to know what's going on with that. So again, it's the local real estate flipper group, but it's a good group to be a part of because it keeps you in the know and up to date on some of the alternative finance options.
Martha, can you put the information in the chat, please?
Yeah, maybe you can share back with us, Martha, what the.
I'll type in right now.
And also, if you will send me the information on the class, we'll send it out to the office.
It's on the website, so I'll type it Martha. Me and Martha on the same subscription. That's why I know.
Thank you.
Hey, Kathy, from what we experience, from what we were told, if you're under 59 years old, you have to pay it back. from your 401k, and you pay a penalty if you're under that age.
Isn't that something? Because I had heard what Kathy did. So, I mean, I think that's something would be good to know before we misguide someone.
Yeah. We'll see what we can dig in and find out.
Yes.
One thing we have done, and you know, and we were trying, I'm kicking myself now. I'm thinking about, man, when that market was bad, I should have bought up a lot of rentals, and turned them into short-term rentals, if I could ever predicted this market was going to do this. But we have contacted
Now.
we've contacted a lot of our investors that own multiple properties and pitched them kind of a scenario for that 4 to 6 month time frame of rentals. And we're in the process. One of our clients probably will be doing that and paying, you know, typical rent is like she's able to get $1,600, and they might be paying like $2,400 a month to do like a 4 to 6 month rental. So that's what we're trying to do, because we have multiple sellers that would sell, but like Kathy and them are all saying, to get them to make 2 moves when they can't mentally wrap their head around how much they're, you know, the process that's involved, you really have to try to think outside the box to get people to understand to sell your house in this market before you're, or excuse me, to be able to buy before you have to sell, because coordinating it where they don't want to make 2 moves is almost impossible. Almost impossible. So
I think one of our jobs is to make it easy for them, give them choices how to make a double move. And what we really lack in, because it's not our job, so to speak, is somebody asked me, where do you get short-term rentals? Where do you get storage? Who does this stuff? We need a better resource of that type of thing, so we can say that everybody's doing it. Here, we're going to this apartment complex, we do 3-month rentals. We do Zippy Shell, because if you move with them, they'll store your stuff for free. We don't do a good enough job of that because it hasn't been something we needed. We kind of put the onus back on them. But I think they would be more accommodating to us if we could give them solutions. You know, and say it's not uncommon now for people have to move twice. We just got to make them comfortable with that idea. And I don't think we do a very good job of that. I know I don't. You know, somebody asked me for a short-term rental. I go, I don't know. I really need to do a better job of saying, yeah, this place does it, this place does it, this place does it, this place takes dogs, this place will come and pick your stuff up. If we could have a better resource of that, I think we would be more beneficial to our sellers that way. And them getting to the fact of, you know, answering the question of, yeah, I'd sell my house in a minute if I had somewhere to go. Well, somewhere to go.
One of the other things that, since it is a seller's market, what I've been telling my potential sellers is that you put in the contract that you're going to retain possession until you find suitable housing. The sellers are holding all the cards and buyers are desperate, so they'll accept those terms. That they just want the house.
That gets into the lender. Sometimes lenders will see that as now you're buying a rental. You're buying.
It does. That doesn't work in all times.
It won't work.
Not in all cases. No.
Yeah.
But you could say contingent upon finding suitable housing, and then you don't do the closing until they find it. But that really lessens your market a little bit, your negotiating power.
I think if you put the suitable housing clause in there, if you limit the time, that's going to help the lender. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lenders will not allow more than 60 days or else it's an investment property.
Yep.
And the problem with doing that, Jill is facing this right now, where we have a seller who it was a cash buyer. So Jill, how much time was Ristina given? 5 months? Yeah. So because it was a cash buyer, she has 5 months. But she made an offer on a home where that person has to find a home, and the clock's ticking. She's still going to have to move twice. So unless there's a close down date where everybody has to move, your seller still has to be prepared to move twice. When I was talking to the seminar last night, I said, yeah, we can buy you 60 days, but you still have to go eyes wide open that you might have to move twice. I'm going to put in chat here. There is a community, hold on, I'm putting it here. I read. You've probably seen them around and not know what they are. That community called Redwood, they are all over Columbus now. And the good thing about them is that they are ranch style condos. I mean,
Someone needs to mute.
Hold on, Josh Uminski, can you please mute? Josh.
Okay.
Josh,
You need to be able to access them.
I'm looking.
Hey, Josh.
No, so we don't use command.
Gosh.
like
Hold
you
on,
guys.
Josh.
Okay. We still use old green sheets and everything. So, yeah.
So I can go ahead and send everything to Scott Leroy to transfer your work command to.
Yeah.
Jayla, can you mute him?
Jayla, you can mute everybody.
Yeah, we don't go through.
They're not in order.
Yeah, like the old school way, like submit through green sheet. Yeah. Yeah. So, yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I use command, but it's just my team stuff. So it's not like.
Mute him. I'm sorry.
Do
if that makes
you
sense.
need to take anything out of your?
Is he in the office? I'll go beat him up.
No, because I have a backup.
Do you have that all in your personal command? Because there's a personal command and a team.
Does anybody have his text that they can
my database, I
already did.
him and tell him to mute?
I already
I'm trying to
did.
call him right now.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if I lose something in command, it's totally cool.
Okay.
So,
I will have it. So Scott Leroy Marketing will send you a questionnaire to fill out.
okay.
I honestly don't know what's on the transfer.
He's not in the office, I take it.
Nope, he's not.
So I'll just ask you a bunch of questions on like what you want and
Okay.
so on and so forth. So if you have any questions.
We're gonna rough him up.
Thank you.
I hope he's done with this call.
2.
Eric Ransom, good to see you guys.
You too.
How are you?
Good.
Josh Uminski.
Yes. Thank you.
You're
Oh my gosh.
Oh my Lord.
You're sitting.
I just said,
Jayla, can't you mute the whole group?
it won't, no, it will not allow me to.
That's all right.
Huh.
Like 6'3".
Can we all just get on there and scream Josh?
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Hey, I'm glad we have a sense of humor right now.
Jumping on.
Anything we can do to help, let me know. I was out for a couple of weeks. My dad had a stroke and
Oh
so.
my God.
All right now.
Talk about Zoom being.
I love it.
I don't really know what's going on.
There, I could on my other computer.
Oh, good.
Okay, so
Okay.
buyredwood.com is a group of ranch style apartments with 2-car garages. And they're all over central Ohio. I think there's 6 to 8 locations. They will do short-term rentals and people love them because they don't have to rent storage. They have 2-car garages. Now they're not cheap. They're gonna run $2,000 to $2,500 a month, depending on where you live. But frankly, that's about what you're gonna pay anyway. They're all ground floor, so you don't have to carry stuff up and downstairs. And they're fairly nice. They're nice places. And they allow pets there too. So if you go to buyredwood.com and go down to Columbus, Ohio, there's about 8 different locations there. The other thing I have found is apartments, all these new apartments going up. The newer the apartment, the more likely they are to do short-term rentals because they just want bodies in there. My almost new son-in-law is a apartment manager for Ardent Communities, and they'll do short-term right and left just to get bodies into their buildings. Short-term to them though is 6 months, but honestly, that's what you want for your buyers because it could very well take them 6 months to get a home.
Okay, let's circle back. Is anybody using any other tactics as far as listings before we move on to the next topic? I was hoping Vicki Baxter would be on here because I know she came in the office and jumped on the Mojo dialer week before last and got 2 listings by calling neighborhoods. Is anybody using those tactics going back to kind of the basics, if you will?
I did the letters and then I called. I specified certain number of homes and it's a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. I started actually last year and now there are some sellers who I'm working with to list their homes, but it takes more follow up and more. It was not instant. And I had I not only sent letters, but just what has been mentioned, it's very specified needs, very specified letter, what we're looking for. And I got all the phone numbers for all those people and called them. And if I was able to get their information, put them on smart plans to follow up.
I think that's great, Rima. That's one of the things, if those of you who are coaching with me regularly, that's something we've been talking about, is sending out the letters to neighborhoods and following up with a call. Hey, did you receive my letter last week? You know, and I like what Paul said earlier, using the names, you know, Justin and Misty are, you know, really looking for a house in your neighborhood. I just wanted to make sure we got back with you, you know, add that personal touch to it. If you know of anybody, please keep me in mind. And that way, if they've thrown the letter out in the mail, you're following up saying, hey, I'm serious about this. You know, here's my voice. I'm a real person.
Dayla, one thing that I have started doing with investors that I know of is looking at doing 1031 exchanges. That opens up a whole new realm for them. I've also have done it now with a few people that are moving to Florida. As most of you know, I sell also in Florida. So they're able to sell extremely high here. The market in Florida isn't as bad as ours. So they're still able to get a really good, decent property there in Florida with that 1031 exchange. And in May, Scott Stevenson is going to be doing a class. I've been working with him on offering 1031 exchanges to the office. But that is another way to get those that are holding a portfolio to do some different investing.
There's also another thing, kind of like a 1031 exchange. It's called a structured sale. And it's probably for the people that have a larger portfolio that maybe want to downsize to something that, you know, and then they have what they call excess boot when you do a 1031. You can take that and put it into a structured sale so that you can protect it from the high-end taxes, and you can take that money out in increments that would not trigger a taxable event. So, you know, that's another option too. It's a little more, a lot of people don't know about them. Most people have heard of a 1031 exchange, but maybe that's something we could do in conjunction with the 1031 exchange class.
Good idea. Is anybody using property exchanges? So let's say you have somebody that has the family house, they want to downsize into a condo or a one-floor home. Excuse me, sending letters to those people and saying, I have this property to sell, you know, my client has this property to sell. They're looking for this. Are you, you know, there might be some interest in a property exchange or owner financing.
I kind of fell into a different situation. I went to see this guy about a commercial property and he's like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about selling my house. And I said, well, you know, I have buyers that are looking for houses. So I have an appointment set up this weekend for a buyer of mine that's looking in that area to go look at their house before we even list it. So.
Very good. All right, I'd like to go ahead and move on and talk about the whole coming soon situation. I know that, and hopefully everybody has a good handle on the delayed showing instructions coming soon. I actually put the document from MLS, it's in our office intranet in the document section. I think the new listing contract makes things a lot more clear as far as when the dates and the timelines start and all of that. But I wanted to open it up to when you actually take these listings, are you using coming soon?
Do.
You know, share.
I do. I feel like it's just fair for everybody, for all the buyer agents, have enough time to schedule the showing, and also they have enough time to think about what they want before they send in the offer, so we don't have any cold feet. So I think the coming soon is a good idea. So I do.
I know a lot of you have been giving me feedback that you're having a hard time getting appointments to show properties to your buyers when they do come on the market. So, you know, how do you feel as far as the coming soon thing goes with that, and the feeding frenzy that it creates?
You can schedule on a coming soon. You can go ahead and schedule for the day that it comes on the market before it gets on the market.
One of the problems we're seeing though is on the coming soon is the savvy buyer's agent will do a drive-by offer, and the seller has the right to accept or reject those offers as a drive-by. And what the coming soon is doing is the listing agent has the opportunity to look at multiple drive-by offers. And if the seller chooses to select one, then the procedure would be is the listing agent would put it active on the market and then go back in and put it in contract before your scheduled showing. That's one of the biggest, I mean, I get calls on that constantly. And that's just the policy and procedures that Columbus Realtors has put together on the coming soon platform right now. It's a big topic of discussion at Columbus Realtors. It hasn't been resolved. And it's one of those MLS issues that we need to address continuously. So although you can set up your showing for the second it comes on the market, but the second it comes on the market, it could show up in contract.
It happened to me this past weekend again.
And Vince and I have been talking about this for over a month.
Yep. I'm gonna tell you the new one that's happening, and I'm not gonna give names or anything because I'm gonna see what happens once it closes. But I just had this instance where it was a coming soon. I scheduled as soon as it hit a coming soon. Next thing I know, it went in, it showed canceled in the multiple listing service and reactivated, put in as active with contingent before even the showing start active on MOS date. So I don't know what's happening, but Mark knows my feeling on this coming soon. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse on that. So
one of the things in the Columbus Realtors has done in the showing is that you can take it and move the showing date up. Before you couldn't. On Clear Cooperation, when that was implemented last year in November, that was not the rule. The rule has changed, and an agent can take the property and move the active showing date forward. And so if I have it on Friday, I can move it up until Wednesday and do exactly what Vince said.
I have a question though. So if we do have a problem with the listing agent accept an offer like that, and I understand exactly what we're talking about. However, what's the difference with that versus an agent walk to the house, talk to the seller, and already have the buyer in mind, and then they hook them up and they in contract? I mean, it's the same, right? So we cannot avoid that, really.
Well, the guidelines say that nobody can have unfair advantage to see the property. So the only time they should be accepting an offer prior to it being active is a curb offer only, where they have not seen the house. In fact, I think that as listing agents, it behooves us to use language like seller has the right to accept any offer at any time, so that in our agent remarks, so that people understand that that could happen, because anybody can bring a buyer with a curb offer under our current guidelines.
My question with that is, all right, so the seller accepts an offer, a curb offer, but part of that curb offer is they still get to do an inspection, or they get to do a walkthrough to verify the condition of the property, and now they've seen it, right? So does the seller now have to start allowing showings at that point if they fall out of contract again?
Yes, it has to be as soon as a third party has seen the home, it has to go active, and they cannot revert back to the coming soon. Yeah, soon as they allow access to anybody inside the home, it has to go active on there. I spoke to the MLS board, as Mark and Vince have as well, and they said there's nothing they can do about that. That's the seller's legal right to take a curb offer on their home. So as long as the listing agent is not allowing access prior to that offer being accepted, there's nothing legally wrong with it, and there's nothing they can do to prevent it. Again, I always say this, it sounds like a broken record. This is the reason for buyer orientation meetings. You can't just put a buyer, I say, shows my age. I started to say you can't just put a buyer in your car. Nobody does that anymore. You can't meet a buyer at a house without having this meeting and sitting down with them and saying, you know, look, let's look at the rules of this wild, wild west of real estate, because otherwise you look bad as a realtor. When you have to go back and tell your client that that home they were going to look at and you rushed to get, and you said there would be no showings before Friday, is already in contract, the listing agent doesn't look bad. You look bad. You look like you didn't educate them. And so all of this, as you learn it, needs to be translated to your buyer, and your buyer needs to be given that option. You can say, look, showings don't start on Friday. Are you willing to make a curb offer and go into contract without seeing the home? Because if you're not, someone else may be willing to. And if they say, no, I'm not willing to, and then you call them and say, I'm sorry, someone made a curb offer and it went in contract, well, then you don't look bad because you gave them that option and they chose not to do it. Where it looks like we're Glenn Ross is when we're running around trying to, you know, do this, and we're trying to explain after the fact to our buyers how the rug got pulled out from under them. And that's what you don't want. You want to have sat down with them and go over all the possible scenarios, all of their options, so that you're giving them, the minute you see that coming soon, you say, John, this home's coming soon. It's coming on the market on Monday. Do you want to make a curb offer on it? And if they don't want to, then you've given them that option, and then you say, okay, then we're going to schedule a showing for Monday.
We have to remember that if you submit an offer, it has to be presented to the seller. They have to present that offer. So just like Kathy's saying, everybody's been saying on here, the problem with that coming soon is, doesn't mean that the offer doesn't state that they have to be physically in the house to make the offer. They can make the offer anytime, and we as listing agents, we have to show that to the seller. We have to present it.
So my question to everyone here on the panel, I know everyone wants to sell these homes, and we all know that these homes are going to sell, good, bad, and ugly, almost within the first week. Is why are we using coming soon?
That's my question.
That's what I've said all along.
Why are you not, if your house is coming soon and it's coming soon on Friday, why don't you list it on Friday and give everyone the fair advantage instead of going through this battle? I know your seller is going to say, well, I want to have a coming soon sign. And I know you want to build your market presence over that week or two. But in reality, you don't have to build your market presence in a week or two in today's market. You could put it on the MLS and immediately you've got presence, because everyone's got their eyes open to the new listings that come on the market, and they're going to be looking at it. So why are you using it? What is your gain? It's a rhetorical question, but
that's I have an answer.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's self-serving.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a different from the psychology side of thing. If you have the active listing today, the buyer might think, oh my gosh, I need to go see it today, and then I need to make an offer today. Even though in the A2A, the listing agent said, well, I'm not going to accept offer until Sunday or whatever. And then if I put coming soon, the buyer calmed down a little bit and they would schedule the showing the first day on the market, but they have enough time to think about the house in a calm manner. And so I'm about to put my flip on the market, and I was thinking exactly the same way you asking, should I do coming soon? Should I not? But I just feel like that just make buyer calm a little bit before they make final decision.
But that buyer is really calm, waiting for Saturday. And when Saturday comes, it's in contract, and they can't figure out the reason why.
Right.
And so now that calm buyer is
Live
as
it.
frustrated as you can possibly be.
Yep.
You know, I think Kathy has a huge point that we need to have that buyer consult, is that this is the way the market is. Because if you're the buyer thinking that you're going to look at the property on Saturday, you're grossly mistaken. That house will be gone by Saturday.
Do you guys really see a lot of like COP offer accepted? Because I try so many times and the listing agent says, sorry, Tracy, we don't do that. We rather let supervisor in.
Well, you know, Trace, it's probably the 1% of the people in the market today that are accepting the offers prior to it. And, you know, we're not all bad people. You know,
Well,
if I put a coming soon on Saturday, I'm not going to show it. I'm not going to, you know, if you submit an offer, I'll present it, but I'll also tell you that we want to have the opportunity for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to look at all offers. So that might be part of the agent to agent remarks.
Let me tell you, this is two things. Number one, we're seeing the thing when Tracy, when you say, do you actually see people doing that? We didn't see people totally waiving home inspections until a month ago. No. Now every fifth buyer is saying, I'm not doing a home inspection. As the market gets tighter, people are doing what they have to do. My other pet peeve in this, and is in realtors, some of you do it, so I love you, but it's my pet peeve, is when realtors say, well, we're waiting until Saturday at 6 to present offers. And then all of a sudden they changed it to in contract. And then they say, well, sorry, that's what my seller wanted to do. Yep. And my response is, then you didn't educate your seller. You know, if part of that is educating at the beginning. When I sit down with a listing, I tell my homeowners, look, you're the homeowner, you can do whatever you want, but here's your choices. Are you going to take any offer as it comes in, or are you going to give 4 days for buyers to look at it, and we're not presenting offers until Monday morning or whatever? And I go over with them what all the pluses and minuses are. And they say, no, we like the way where we wait, get everybody in. And then I say to them, so you're telling me if you get a cash offer, 50,000 over list price, no home inspection, you're still going to wait till Monday? In other words, I get a firm commitment from them that come hell or high water, cash or high offer, they are not going to do anything until, and I explain to them, because we are putting in public record out there that you're going to wait, and you have a lot of buyers who want your home, and then we're shutting the door on them because, oh, sorry, we got a good offer. 9 times out of 10, when you explain it to them that way, they say, yeah, we're in with you, we're wait till Monday morning. That way, when I have these realtors come and say, you know, if we do this and that, will you accept tonight? I can say, no, I've been instructed by my seller that we're waiting until Monday morning. Because I just think, yeah, you can always fall back on, well, my sellers, it's their, you know, they told me to do this. And my response is, but would they have told you to do that if you had educated them from the beginning? And if they said they were willing to do that, you should have put that in the remarks. Because it's not fair to buyers, it's not fair to your colleagues to say you're going to do one thing and then pull the rug out and say, sorry, we're not doing it. So again, it's all respect in this industry goes 2 ways. It goes to your client, and it also goes to your colleagues. And believe me, your colleagues are going to remember a whole lot longer than your clients do. And so it's really important to play fair and to do what you say you're going to do, and make sure you've gone over all those possibilities with your homeowner before you instruct other realtors what you're going to do.
Honestly, I still think a lot of listing agents do exactly what Kathy doing though. I guess some agent have a bad experience, but I see the most still do the right thing.
Yeah. I've got to run to a meeting, but I just put in chat to you because Paul was asking for resources. I wrote this book that's about 100 pages long, and it is a Central Ohio, hold on. It is to get rid of stuff, and it has tabs for sell it, donate it, move it, store it, organize it, and junk it. And so when you're talking about resources to give your clients, this is the internet in reverse, and it's like what old people do with a book, but it's very handy. I'm gonna leave, I only have 3 copies here at the office. I'm gonna leave them at the front desk. That's my gift to you, to give each of you a copy of the book. You can come pick it up to have as a resource for your clients. I have tons of them in my garage. So if you get here and there's not a copy and you want one, email me and I'll leave one at the front desk for you to, so you have a copy as a resource for your clients.
Thanks, Kathy.
You're welcome. And I'm out. I've got to go to a meeting.
Something I wanted to add to you guys as listing agents, if your client, your seller does want to accept a curb offer, do make sure that you explain to them, are you sure you don't want to take the time to look at all of these other offers? Because they're really not doing themselves a service if getting the most money for their property is what they're looking to do by having it go live and everyone be able to see it.
Hey
So,
guys, I have to get off too, but before Kathy, you stay on, please. This is one thing I want to say to finish with what Kathy said, to piggyback on this. What is happening, and Paul, you're more important than I am. You have more say at the board, and this is what as an industry we need to have a discussion. This is bordering on the ethics of real estate, of what's going on in this market, whether it's to our sellers, our clients, our colleagues, what's happening. And I think we really have to, as an industry, figure out how to change this. I've done this 27 years. Many of you have done it much longer than me, and I've seen all different types of ups and downs in the real estate industry. But what's happening is it's threatening our ethics of real estate compared to what they're saying our sellers are doing. And I'm telling you right now, Teresa and I had this conversation. If we're listing a property, we're having our sellers sign a document how they're going to be handling their showings and or accepting offers. Because when I get those agents calling and complaining to me, I'm going to send it to them, and I may start attaching it in our documents of how our offers will be handled. So that way we have that backup to when people say, well, you said you were going to do this and this and this. I think
and you might even say, Vince, to Vince's point, you might even want to put in no curb offers, no curb offers before the coming soon.
Right. Kathy, I don't want to interrupt you, but I know you're both leaving. I just want to let you know that I'm on the panel as a broker representative of the MLS, and we are having an MLS Mastermind for 2021, going into the next, few years of our industry. And these comments I'm listening to intently. I will share them. And there's about 40 or so people on this call. And so if you do have MLS comments, please share them with me. We're going to have a full day. That's what I do with my time. A full day, 9 to 5, later this month. So if you have MLS comments, share them with me, and I will definitely bring them up as topics that need to be addressed moving into the future.
And we asked the board to make the complaint process a little easier, because it sounds like there's a lot of people do all the weird stuff out there, and it takes forever for us to really file a complaint. So finally, we just close our eye and say, forget it. But if we just keep forgetting about these bad behavior, we're gonna see more happen in the future.
Right.
Something.
Oh, go ahead. Question, another comment, just not to beat a dead horse about the coming soon. And Mark got an earful of me whining about it. It happened to me personally before I really understood how this all goes down. So the thing that I just came across a couple days ago was a property that I was watching for my client that was coming soon. 2 days later, it's marked price reduced, and it can't be shown for another 20 days. How do you explain that? And, as we're together here, I feel we're all very ethical people doing the right thing for our sellers. But it's hard to accept or believe that everything that we're seeing and noticing now with coming soon is on the up and up and ethical. So is it the right thing for our seller? Why did it go away before, with coming soon?
One of the things we have Monday mornings with Mark, and one of the topics that came up over the last couple Mondays, that's an open forum, by the way, for anyone that wants to show up, just speak your mind and maybe address questions. or ask how-tos. One of the questions that did come up is, how in the world are these homes selling for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 above list price? And how are they being appraised? And now a lot of times we've addressed appraisal gaps and how to structure, and we're talking to our clients, you know, you're going to need to put the appraisal gap in there. You need to come up with $50,000 more to buy this house. The question in that educational consult with your buyers is, are you having the discussion with the buyer that, by the way, when you pay $50,000 more for that house so you could live in it today, when you go to sell it 5 years from now, you're not going to make that $50,000 back. You're probably going, you know, you have we're not going to continue at a 10-15% appreciation rate annually on these homes, and there's going to be a saturation and breaking point in the future. I don't know when it's going to be, but I could imagine it looking maybe not as bad as the short sale crisis we had back in 05, 6, and 7. There's a point of just saturation where you're going to paying for these homes. And are you telling your buyers, you know, this is, if you're going to pay more for what the house is or for what it appraises for, you may never recoup. You may never get that money back. And that's a conversation that also needs to be had, because when it comes time to sell, people live in their homes 5 to 7 years, they're going to be calling you to sell, and they're going to expect to get that money back. And you're going to say, there's no way in heck I can do that for you. So make sure you have that conversation also.
Just if I can, just based on Mark, what you're saying, this is something I'm experiencing as a buyer's agent, that, to be honest with you, I'm having a really hard time ethically with. You know, I've got people looking in certain areas that I had somebody put an offer in $50,000 over list with the $20,000 appraisal gap that's still, you know, we had that conversation. But how do you, you know, I feel like one of your main, you know, your main roles is to educate these people who are in the market like in this fashion. And how do you in good faith do that? You know, I can present the facts, but I also view myself as someone who's a guide. How do you have that conversation with them, knowing that that could potentially set them up, you know, to have that kind of situation in 3 to 5 years? Because when I do have that conversation, then the response a lot of times is, well, you know, maybe that's not something I want to do right now. And as a person, I want to be supportive of that. But then on the flip side, that also means, you know, obviously that kills your business on the backside. So how do you do that? How do you present those facts so that people can kind of make a decision and still in good faith feel like you're doing a fiduciary responsibility that you're supposed to be as an agent?
Well, just like we're having right now, one of the ways that you can support your conversation when you do have it is if you go to the Columbus Realtors website and you go to the resource page, it'll have a drop-down menu where you can go to the current market history. And right now it's got January and February, and it will show the communities that you're in, the percent of how inventory has been reduced, 20, 30, 40%. And yet it shows also that year over year and month over month, that how home prices have increased 10%, 20% of sale. And so you're showing the client the true facts. And what's happening with that, even though the market values have increased, you know, 10 and 20% in some of these communities, the homes are still selling at another 10% above that. And that is that's the business conversation you have to have with them. Now, your client said, I don't think I want to do that. Well, then maybe now is not the time to buy. Or maybe if you're looking in the $400,000 price range, maybe you look in the $300,000 price range, because then you're going to have a cushion, you know, where you can improve it, you could add value to it, and then possibly get money out of it in the future.
So the one conversation I have with my buyer, and they brought it up, not me, that Tracy, I pay the rent $2,000 a month. So after 1 year, it's 25,000. So if I assume that the market stay exactly where it is, that I have zero appreciation, I still have 25,000 saved from the rent I wasted over the year. So for me to pay more today, it sounds like crazy, but I want the house.
It's
Mark,
crazy.
Mark, this is a conversation. So I've been in the business 31 years, so I'll have to say I've been through quite a few, but never a market like this. Very interesting. But I think, you know, it is very, very important that you educate your clients, sellers, buyers. I always have a buyer's meeting with my clients. We go over everything. We go over the contract and we talk about the market. And now after listening to some of this, I'm even thinking I might have people sign a disclosure when they are paying, you know, 20,000 over. But I go into a long conversation about if you know, this market turns tomorrow and you sell next year, you know, that 20,000 you just are writing out a check. I say light a match to it because it just went poof. But if you're okay with doing that and understand the ramifications of, you know, possibly losing $20,000 to get this house, then you're in the market. You understand the market. You're willing to be in it. You're willing to play in it. But I think people need to understand that, you know, if they get a job transfer next year and they got to move, you know, that 20, 30, 40, $50,000 more just went up in flames.
Well, you remember, we treat real estate as an emotional thing. But it's a business transaction. And you can't forget the business side of the emotional decision to purchase. And if you bring that piece, what Kimberly is talking about, into the picture, I know you love the house, but let's talk business. And if in business, sometimes you make money and sometimes you lose money. This could be a time where you might not recuperate the $20,000 above the appraisal value that you're going to get. So in commercial, if Martha's still on the line, this is not a hard conversation to have. Most of the people sometimes will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars above what the value would be so they can have the investment. And knowing that in the future, they're going to not make that money back, but still, this is a business decision what people are into. So that make sure you bring the business entity into that overpaying conversation.
Things I wanted to bring up, Sarah had put here in the chat, going back to the coming soon situation. If somebody accepts a curb offer, she said that they can go into temporarily off market if the property falls out of contract versus staying active. So that was just something she mentioned I wanted to share in case you didn't see it. And then I know one of the questions asked is, you know, why would you use coming soon? She said that her reasoning behind it is because it allows the seller the security of fewer days on the market ahead of time and being able to plan. It also allows real estate professionals courtesy so that agents can plan their lives and not have to drop everything and run at the drop of a hat every time a listing pops on. So I just wanted to make sure you guys saw that. She said she hasn't seen that many in the way of curb offers. And then I also wanted to add that we didn't talk about backup offers. And in the case of, I mean, if your buyers are willing to place curb offers, are they willing to also place backup offers? Because if that first person, you know, goes and sees the house during the inspection, if a backup offer is already there, then it may not go back on the market, and therefore it might give your buyer some leverage, because we're talking kind of about buyer leverage now versus the seller leverage. So that was something I want to bring up. Backup offers, yes or no? Are you using those? And then how to write the best offer so that your buyers gets accepted, so they're chosen as the bride, not the bridesmaid. So that was the last thing I wanted to make sure we touched on, if anybody has thoughts there.
I normally just touch base with the listing agent and say, hey, am I on the second position? Would you consider a backup offer? And they would tell me, Tracy, you at the bottom of the stack, then forget about it. But if I am at the second position, then most of the time, either we can really write a backup offer with signatures and all. But many times me and the listing agent agree verbally that, hey, your offer is really good. I'll call you when it's back on market. And I got 2 buyers in primary position in the last 12 months for that. But if anyone wanted to be a sure thing, put the paper in. But for me, most of the in contract now actually go to closing. So I normally don't really write it on paper, but it's really a conversation.
Well, we've talked a lot about appraisal gaps. We've talked about waiving inspections. We've talked about waiving request of remedies. Are there other things that you guys are adding so that your buyer's offers are the ones chosen? Before we answer that, what are the
I
things?
recently wrote an offer. I never thought I'd be doing this, but that the seller would, or the buyer would pay the seller's closing costs. And we were 30,000 over list price with an appraisal gap guarantee. And we still didn't get it. And we waived inspection. So I don't know. That's why I'm on this call. What do you put in there to get to actually outbid somebody? It's ridiculous.
No, should people? No, I didn't say that.
One of the things that I've used, and it has worked once, and that is offering to the seller that the buyer will pay all fees associated with cleaning out the home. So because of my business, I have access to a crew that will go in, do a clean out, get a dumpster, deep clean, and it's worked. And I mean, I know by looking at the property about how much that fee will cost. So again, that's something just to try to think, what are the things that the seller is concerned with? And that's one of the biggest things. What do I do with my stuff? I know I can auction, but then there's stuff left over. So that's one idea that you might think about.
You know, Dawn, you bring up a point in that when in this competitive world, you know, it's probably really good thought to actually call the listing agent and let them know what are the most important factors that are important to the seller in the sale of their property, and then use that as part of your negotiations in contract writing, that the buyer will agree to the seller's move out time. The buyer will agree to this, that, and the other. Because sometimes it's not all about making 20 grand more on your house, and maybe they have specific needs and requirements to get out. I mean, everyone loves money.
Listen, agents, they don't talk nowadays, Mark. They put it on A2A and they done with the day.
Yeah. And you're right, to get through with a listing agent, to just, like you said, Mark, what is it your seller's looking for? What do you want? And that's what I did with this listing agent. And he didn't know what to even ask for. So as I'm processing and listening, I got the feeling that the seller really had no idea about the process and the next steps. And that's what I do with my company is I go into a meeting and just, okay, what's your time frame? Well, here's what you have to do, and putting together that sequence. So I sensed that this listing agent, and he shared very openly, this guy has no plan. So that's where I'm like, hey, here's my suggestion. Just a sticky thing on a side note for me was, because I do the auction and the estate sale on the side, this seller called me randomly from the website. I had no idea who it was. I just thought it was another call. When he gave me his name, he said, I live on Fallow Court, blah, blah, blah. I called him back and canceled the appointment, because my concern was, here I am making an offer from my buyers, and the listing agent knew it and it was thrilled with it because we were going to complete this transaction. But I was just more concerned of perception by crossing the two businesses. So that's just a side note.
Yeah.
Anything else to bulletproof your offers?
No such thing.
Very good.
I say that.
The one, I do want to,
Hang on, let's one at a time.
I say that kind of facetiously because of, as you were talking, every transaction is individualized to the seller and the buyer. There's no one size fits all. There's nothing like that. And that's what we're paid to do, is understand what's important to them, what's important to the other one, how are we going to make this work together. One of the things I just realized, understand how lucky you are to have this conversation with this many people, because there's, as of right now, there are more real estate agents than there are listings for sale. That just boggles my mind. This is across the country. So just to have this little bit of edge right here is putting you in front of 99% of the other agents. Now you have to figure out that next step. And one of the steps you got to figure out is that how far are you going to go? But keep in mind, how are we going to appease all the people in the process, being the buyers, the sellers, and our colleagues? Because of right now, we're making a lot of short-term decisions based on this market. The builders are kind of, I think they're digging their own grave with us right now, a little bit, in that they're calling all the shots. They're going to need us here sooner or later. Same thing with sellers. You know, the sellers are calling all the shots. You know what's going to happen if the market is like any other market. They're going to need us here eventually. Now's the time to make sure that you educate people as well as you can and make them understand what this market is like. The biggest thing that I'm hearing from everybody is the buyers are fearing of what they're missing out on. The sellers are fearing, how are they going to get sued? The agents are fearing what's going to happen because we don't have any more ethics within the real estate industry. Understand, this is all happening in a short period of time. We've got to be consistent, whether it's a good market, a buyer's market, a seller's market, a builder's market, whatever it is. Keep that in the back of your mind and don't make these rash decisions based on what is going on in this very market. What is right for my seller may not be right for him 3 years from now. We can't predict the future. We got to understand what's going on right now. We've got to let them know that, yes, you're overpaying for this market right now. Yes, you're getting a 3% interest rate. 3 years from now, I don't know if that's going to be the right thing to do or not. So just keep that in perspective a little bit, because I think we're losing a little bit of that sometimes as to when we're getting down in the, you know, the weeds here a little bit about, you know, I'm so ticked off at this real estate agent because they didn't tell me they had it coming soon and this and that. This is evolving. Everybody knows that. A year from now, we weren't really talking about these kind of things. It evolves every day. And real estate is the most nimble market there is because it's based on the market itself. It's based on what is happening now. You can't base it on what happened in the past or what you think is going to happen in the future. And us, by sitting here, is putting you 10 steps ahead of most other people. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think having these conversations, because all of us come from different experiences today and 5 years ago. And so sharing, you know, what's helping at this moment. And I think these are ongoing conversations. I don't think it's a one and done.
It is. These are my favorite things because it's what's going on right now. You go to all these education classes and things like that, those are very stagnant. They're one-sided. This is actually happening. Hey, what's happening with this builder? What's happening with this commercial? What's happening with this agent? That's what we need to know right now. That's where you need to be in the know. And that's where these other 1.4 million agents out there, they're way behind because they're not having these conversations.
David, I have a question.
Sure.
To pose to here. What about the possibility of looking into commercial property? Not something that's like a small retail shop or large commercial building, but these small commercial buildings that are like nestled in around residential properties. And seeing about maybe having those rezoned take the risk of having that property rezoned to residential and then modifying it. Or even raising the structure and building on that, the lot itself.
Actually,
commercial
there's
property is going down, where residential is just exploding. And maybe even for an investor, have an investor buy commercial property in a residential area.
Also, it's not really going down though.
Well, there's a lot of conversation about this right now because I know a lot of the big employers around Columbus, and Mark, you might be able to speak to this even better than I, but with these large buildings and people working from home and not coming back into the offices, they've been talking about, can we get them rezoned? Can we turn some of these into condos or, that kind of thing, because we have such a housing shortage. And so, but that doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
So I don't think that, really helps correct our issue where we are today. I think long-term, you're going to see some of that happening because of the, we've learned with COVID that, people can work from home and do work from home, and some companies are electing to go down that road. So, but I don't think that's going to help us short-term.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking those small offices, some of you see them, even sometimes going down the road where you'll see like it's a residential property, it looks like it, but it's zoned commercial. And somebody's, having some kind of, attorney or accountant or something like that, on a busy street or something like that, maybe having the possibility of having that rezoned to residential.
And that's always, application for those can always be made, and those are out there for sure. Although we've found in our own experiences as a brokerage in looking for commercial spaces for our Lancaster location, our Granville location, it's not easy to find commercial spaces. I mean, it's very competitive, and we've had our challenges in doing that. So the commercial bubble's not like just sitting out there with all of this excess property yet. I think that we may see more of that as time goes on. But
I'm just
I know,
kind of curious about the viability of that.
Just
All right.
one other thing with the challenging market that we are in. And I know sometimes you guys are writing more than one offer, 10 offers, whatever. Just make sure you're documenting and saving your files. People are getting upset, and people do like to sue when they get upset. And if that be the case, the only thing that you as the agent have to rely on is your documentation. And that's your email communication. And so when you have those conversations, you might want to memorialize them in an email and keep an email file on your client, or put it into the loop is the best way to do it, because then it's there if there is ever a challenge. And challenges don't come a day or two after a closing. Challenges come 2 months, 3 months, a year after closing. And keeping your documents in line and keeping them, period, even though the deal has closed, is real critical. One of the things, now that's just your email communications and everything else. As far as compliance is concerned, we had this conversation earlier this week with our E&O carrier. Having, when you do your listings and when you're working with your buyers, make sure you have all your documents from consumer guide fully executed, your agency disclosure fully documented and executed, your RPDs. Make sure you use, of course, our .loop has it, the most current contract that the board has to offer. And make sure all your documents are in place. That means your fishing document and everything else. And the reason why I do say that, and I hate to be redundant, or we hate to keep tracing you down if you're not compliant in our file reviews for closing, is that our E&O comes back to us, and the first question they ask is, I want to see your agent's file. And if we open up the file and you're missing signatures or you're missing an RPD, then they'll still represent us, of course, they're our insurance carrier. But what we have is a waiver of deductible. If you are compliant by having all of your documents in line, They review it, and if they accept it, then you have your E&O deductible waived. And keep in mind, our agent E&O deductible is $5,000. So what we're after you, not to hound you or to bug you. We're here to keep you safe and keep the money in your pocket and not in the insurance carrier's pocket. So documentation, compliance is real critical, and bulletproofing your contracts. Because even though your client loves you, if they have a problem, they're going to sue you with all the love in their heart.
You know, a couple words about some of our affiliates in all of this. So I was talking to Jerry Lincoln the other day. He came in with his staff to fog our office to make sure it was sanitized and so forth. And Jerry said he's been talking to all of these other local home inspectors plus across the country. But of course, I was more interested in the local conversations. And he said that their business is so far down right now because people are not writing inspections into offers. Well, here's my concern with that. I had a conversation where I'm going with this with Blair yesterday about home warranties. And because home warranties are down, because again, that's another negotiation item. So if you're working with a buyer, they don't do an inspection, they find something after the fact, there's two things they could do. They could have an inspection after they purchase the home, just to know where they are and what they need to do. Because Jerry said there are safety, issues in a lot of these homes, electrical hazards, fire hazards, things like that. If they're waiving an inspection, they may be putting their family at risk. So by you saying, I care about you and your family, having an inspection after you close is still a good idea so that you can get anything fixed that might come up. The same thing with home warranty. If they're not writing home warranties into the deal, they can purchase the home warranty post-closing and still protect their client. The other thing is, and I know Blair put it in the chat here, when it comes to the E&O piece of it and the deductible, we had a situation come up recently. If you present the America's Preferred Home Warranty and your client declines it, that's okay. That's still going to provide you coverage up to 75% of your deductible if there is a case. And don't you think there's going to be more cases as time goes up if people are waiving inspections, not getting home warranties and all that, because people are going to get their homes, have issues, and be ticked off. So, making sure that you're covering all those grounds, those are things to help protect you, protect your clients, not only now, but in the future.
Dela, thank you for bringing that up. I forgot to mention the home warranty piece. That is actually one of the specific items that they will look for in a grievance. When they pull the files, they're going to look to see, did the homeowner was the property inspected, period. And if it wasn't inspected, is there a waiver that says that the buyer refused to have, elected not to have the property inspected? And the second part of that puzzle is the home warranty. Was there a home warranty offered? And you're right. Blair has her warranty package, and on her application, it says the buyer will accept the home warranty, and it also says the buyer declines the home warranty. And so if they say, I decline it, you need to get their signature on that form and put it in your file. And you might want to just make a footnote that buyer declined home warranty and make it, you could do a little text add-on on your dot loop. So the home warranty and the home inspection is absolutely critical. If that's not in there, then you're paying the deductible in the defense on the case. Now, you may have done absolutely nothing wrong, but when a suit comes up, you have to defend yourself. And because you have to defend yourself, the deductible will apply. So if we could waive it, you could waive it by being totally compliant.
Yeah, it doesn't. Dotting your
has
eyes.
A great warranty, and I don't know any other warranty company out there that's going to cover 75% of your deductible. That's $3,750.
Years ago, it was a little different market, but HUD properties were a real thing that was, people were very competitive to get them. because they could save so much money in purchasing them. And I represented someone on a HUD property, and the buyer chose not to have a home inspection because their dad was handy, he could go through it and look at it. So I know the situation's a little different. I had them sign the waiver that they were going to do the inspection. And thank goodness, because they closed on the property, moved in it. 7 days later, the health department showed up and put a notice on their door that they had to vacate the property because the septic system was not up to code and there was no grinder within the system. So having those kinds of things documented to protect you is huge because it can save you a lot of headache down the road. All right, well, everyone, I so appreciate your time, your thoughts, your expertise. I mean, we have so much great brain power in this office, and I love the fact that we can come together, we can share like this. We'll do this again because I don't think this market is going to stop changing. The only thing that is inevitable is change. And so I want to make sure that we continue to have these conversations and keep everybody in the loop. So thanks, everyone. I appreciate you. Have a great day and let us know how we can help you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's Kathy's book, Ask